is a special presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.
So you be the judge, because a finished fight is no more definitive than a beauty pageant, a competition whose outcome is subject to the human margins of error embodied in 3 ringside judges.
115 to 113, Holyfield.
And on the night of March 13 in Madison Square Garden,
116 to 113, Lewis.
3 boxing judges, 1 each from the sport's 3 so-called governing bodies.
115 to 115, even a draw. The decision is even a draw.
Given the privilege of identifying the first undisputed heavyweight champion in more than 6 years, delivered a decision which resolved nothing and again cast into doubt the integrity of a sport which had been making progress.
Both champions retain their belts.
They called it a draw, and they left you, the fan, with the challenge of determining whether the People's Championship changed hands. So you be the judge. Did Holyfield stay in the fight by moving forward, although mostly without throwing punches in bunches? Or did Lewis tactically dominate the smaller man with his jab, perhaps holding back more of his right-hand power than fight fans would have liked? Did Lewis err by not risking more in pursuit of a knockout, maybe too secure in the belief that he was winning round after round? Or did some old-fashioned revival tent commitment help the Holy Warrior to steal a draw down the stretch? On this program, a look back at Holyfield-Lewis with the 2 judges who saw and felt it best, Evander and Lennox. And then you be the judge. Was Holyfield-Lewis something we just have to see again, or just a once good idea whose time has now passed by? Hello, I'm Jim Lampley, along with HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant, and we welcome you to our studios in New York. Days have passed since Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield met in Madison Square Garden, and still the firestorm of media criticism continues for the official decision which denied Lewis his apparent victory and left the heavyweight championship fragmented between the 2 fighters. The governor of New York has asked his state athletic commission for a ceremonial investigation of the result, and one of the 3 judges, Britain's Larry O'Connell, has returned to his home country to tell reporters he made a mistake, an admission of guilt unprecedented in a boxing match of this magnitude. On this program, we'll show you the fight. We'll talk about it with both combatants, Holyfield and Lewis, as they join us on this set. We'll hear from all 3 judges, and we'll look ahead to what might come next. Larry, what should viewers be thinking of as they get ready to watch the 12 rounds of Holyfield-Lewis?
Let's think of this exercise as an autopsy, looking for clues to the crime, not the fight of the century. After insisting that God picked him to win a 3rd-round KO, is Evander Holyfield even fit to stand trial? Did blood tests reveal that, contrary to myth, Lennox Lewis had the skill as well as the will to control the fight? Did they examine the British judge who scored it a draw for traces of Don King's DNA? Should the American judge who gave it to Holyfield be arrested or merely barred from ever setting foot in a boxing arena again? And to beat a heavyweight champion is the new standard that you have to kill him and bury him? Watch for the grisly details.
All right, Larry, enough said. It's one of the ultimate exercises in pure subjectivity. Scoring a boxing match. Your turn. Tale of the tape between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. 3-year age advantage for the British fighter. 3 inches taller. The 31-pound weight differential, the biggest disadvantage Holyfield has faced in that category since April 19, 1991, when George Foreman outweighed him by 48 pounds. 215 pounds, the same weight Holyfield carried when he first beat Mike Tyson by knocking him out in the 10th round. Also the same weight Muhammad Ali brought into the ring 28 years ago against Joe Frazier. 6.5-inch reach advantage for Lewis. Punch stat numbers, Larry.
These numbers will give you an idea of how active these fighters were against a common opponent, Ray Mercer, 3 years ago. As you can see, Holyfield throws fewer punches. He is frequently, by nature, a counter puncher. Jabs, Lewis is the more active with the jab. For Holyfield, the jab is primarily a range finder as well.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Evander Holyfield Lennox Lewis bout is scheduled for 12 rounds using those rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim, a bit of a controversy. Lennox Lewis will wear Reyes gloves, Evander Holyfield Grant gloves. It's the first time in heavyweight championship history. It was done before in Bogolano 1, but it wasn't a title fight. Both have to be 10 ounces.
The difference in gloves came at Holyfield's insistence. Lennox Lewis enters first. He has labored long and bucked the tide of a lot of disrespect on this side of the Atlantic to get to this threshold.
There's almost too much at stake for this man. He's had an outstanding career. Everything that happens in the ring tonight will define that career, fairly or unfairly.
Fans in the arena cannot yet see Lennox as he makes his entrance. That moment comes now. In front of Lewis, his trainer Emmanuel Stewart, the man who once guided Oliver McCall to a second-round knockout of Lennox, his only loss. And Stewart, with Michael Moore, Oliver McCall, Evander Holyfield against Riddick Bowe in their second fight, and with Lewis, has never lost a heavyweight championship fight. Because of the condition of the seating around ringside, fans jammed in like sardines, Lewis has some difficulty making it to the corner of the ring. Some small skirmishes at the edge of that knot of people as Lewis finally makes his way into the ring. Olympic gold medal in 1988, defeating Riddick Bowe to win it as a professional, 34 wins. The 1 second-round knockout, lost 1 punch at the hands of McCall, later avenged. 27 knockouts for the 2-time belt holder from England. Essentially the same path to the ring. Not nearly as difficult a trek so far for Evander and his entourage. losses for Holyfield. 2 to Riddick Bowe, 1 to Michael Moore. 36 wins, 25 knockouts. But with the sole exception of his knockout against Buster Douglas, against larger fighters, Holyfield has almost always gone the distance. Against Foreman, twice against Bowe, and recently against Vaughn Bean. Now let's go up to ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York City, for our featured bout of the evening, brought to you by Don King Productions in association with Panics of the U.S. Main events, Madison Square Garden, TVKO, and the undefeated, undisputed king of beers, Budweiser. This Bud's for you. As this is a unification attraction, this bout is directed under the auspices of the following sanctioning bodies: the World Boxing Association President Gilberto Mendoza, Supervisor Dr. Elias Cordova, the World Boxing Council President Jose Suleiman, Supervisor Gabriel Peña Carricano, the International Boxing Federation President Robert Lee Sr., Supervisor Walter Stone, and the New York State Athletic Commission, the Chairman, the Honorable Mel Southard, Commissioner Rose Tretman, Special Assistant to the Chairman Jim Posanello, Executive Director Tony Russo. Our physicians at ringside for this bout: Chief Physician is Dr. Billy Lathan, along with Dr. Robin Scarlatta, Dr. Rufus Sandler, and Dr. Richard Estrico. Timekeeper at the bell, Jim Borzell. Keeping count of the knockdowns, Wayne Kelly. Introducing to you our judges, whose responsibility is to judge this bout from ringside: from Johannesburg, South Africa, Stanley Christodoulou; from London, England, Larry O'Connell; from Atlantic City, New Jersey, Eugenia Williams; and our referee in charge of this bout, following in the tradition of his father, who was the third man in the ring some 28 years ago when Ali fought Frazier here at the Garden. The son is working in this, his 13th world title bout, Arthur Mercanti. All right, fans, here we go. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance, and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Madison Square Garden, it's time for the main event of the evening: 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Introducing to you the WBC champion on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red trunks with gold trim, and hailing from London, England. He weighed in at 246 pounds with a record of 34 wins, 1 loss. He has 27 big wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome the 1988 Olympic gold medalist, now in his second reign as world champion. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the hard-hitting, 2-time and current WBC heavyweight champion of the world, introducing Lennox Lewis. And his opponent across the ring on my left, fighting out of the red corner, entering the ring wearing purple trunks with white trim, and hailing from Atlanta, Georgia. He weighed in at a ready 215 pounds. His record stands at 36 wins, 3 losses, 25 wins, coming by way of knockout. Please welcome the former undisputed cruiserweight world champion, the former undisputed heavyweight world champion, only the second man in history to have captured the heavyweight crown 3 times. Ladies and gentlemen, here is boxing's warrior, the IBF and WBA heavyweight champion of the world, introducing Evander, the real deal. Once again, a referee in charge now to give instructions, Arthur Mercanti.
Good evening, gentlemen. You received the rules earlier tonight. Let's have a nice, clean fight, touch gloves, and good luck to the both of you.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Judge, ready here. Judge, you ready? Judge, ready here.
Only 3 men left in the ring, and we're underway. Holyfield seeming to slip as Lewis landed the first punch of the bout. Lewis's job to fire his jab and be aggressive behind it. Holyfield's job to get inside of Lewis's range and fight him at close quarters. The chant in the background, Lewis, 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 from the English fans, mostly in the second and third decks. Here in the expensive seats at floor level, almost all Holyfield fans.
And Lewis, although he's aggressive now, he prefers if the fight comes to him. So if Evander starts being a bit more aggressive, it's not going to make him uncomfortable. Evander should bounce away, wait for Lewis to stop doing whatever he's going to do, and jump on him for doing nothing.
Critics say there are 2 Lennox Lewises. The occasionally aggressive fighter who fires his jab and hurries with the right hand behind it, or the occasionally timid fighter who lays the jab out there, uses it as a rangefinder, and waits to land his right hand. The second of the 2 is the one who is regarded as easily beatable by Evander Holyfield. The first of the 2 would be a package for the smaller Holyfield to handle.
You know, in the dressing room, they complain about Evander Holyfield's cup being high. Then you come out and see Lennox Lewis is wearing his cup almost up to his chest. What a great strategy by by Emmanuel Stewart.
Well, I told you about Stewart's track record in heavyweight title fights. Don Turner in the other corner is top drawer as well. Left hook by Holyfield, blocked by Lewis. Lewis using his long arms so far to fend Holyfield off and keep him at range.
What you want to do, Lewis, you are the taller man. Just don't get low. Make sure every punch that Evander Holyfield throw is up high. Catch him with your hand. Evander should go to the body. He can't protect that.
Double jabs for Lewis. Missed over the top of the right hand a moment ago. The English fans will ooh and ah whenever Lewis unleashes the big overhand right. And so far in the first round, Lewis has been in and out with the jab. Sometimes firing it aggressively, sometimes just laying it out there. Left hook lands for Holyfield.
But because Lewis is up high, it's not effective. You want to get caught on the end of those punches and not get flesh, so just keep your height. Evander Holyfield should get to that body and make him drop those hands.
And Holyfield trying to tackle Lewis in the middle of the ring, and Lennox smiles at him as if to say, what the heck was that all about?
It's not going to go on with me in the ring, okay? Let's keep it clean.
Let him rest, ref.
Us gloves are going to have a clean fight. We're going to keep it clean.
You won the first round.
We're telling the same thing.
You won the first round. Water, Court. Water. Give me water, Court.
Right here.
It's what you was working on in training. Instead of shooting the right hand first, moving back.
You know you're getting away from his right hand good, and his chin is right there. When you stop it, nail him with yours.
Corner. Leg a little bit. Hold it, gun. Seconds out, gentlemen.
One of Evander Holyfield's minor prophecies for this fight is that he would dominate every minute of the fight from bell to bell. That didn't happen in the first round.
That goes by the wayside because Holyfield only threw 17 punches in round 1. Reminiscent of the difficulty he had getting off against Bo, particularly in the third fight when he couldn't even throw 40 punches around. 17 punches around won't win for Evander Holyfield. And he cringes against the ropes as
Lewis lands a right hand. Bigger man, George. Bigger punch.
This is one of those fights you just want to sit back and let it happen.
You know, if you didn't know about his third-round prediction, you would be guessing that you would be saying that Holyfield looks sluggish. But here we're just sort of waiting for him to wake up in the third round.
Lennox Lewis is right where he want to be. Evander is allowing him to just stand up straight and stick his left hand out. Evander should close the distance.
Well, we were under the impression that Evander was going to try to get inside him, but so far he really hasn't tried that.
You heard Don Turner telling Holyfield that he was doing a good job of getting away from the right hand. But when Lewis fires the jab, he's landing it. That's how he won the first round.
I think the problem here is Evander is really looking for a knockout. He's not trying to be active. And the ropes being so close to his back, every time he makes one step, he hits the ropes. That's not helping him because he has to fold up and let Lewis land those right hands.
Well, the suspicion is that it was Holyfield who wanted the smaller ring so that he could fight Lewis at closer quarters. But he hasn't been in there so far.
Yeah, he takes a couple of pounds. There's a good left hook by Evander Holyfield. You got to shake this young man up. You got to do something to make his nerves unravel.
Lewis, who seemed very composed when we met with him yesterday, has not looked nervous in the first two rounds here.
Step back.
Wyatt here at floor level, where the Holyfield fans are wondering why their man doesn't get off. Raucous noise in the upper deck, where the Englishmen are enjoying Lewis's early dominance. Body shot by Lewis, partially blocked.
Lewis, obvious strategy, keeping that long, big left hand out to try to thwart anything that Holyfield can get started, George.
Now, Lewis' back is starting to go to the ropes, and that's not where you want to be. Once his back starts touching the rope, Holyfield is going to get confident.
But once again in round two, Evander Holyfield very sparing in his punch output.
Hold out. This round he go out, y'all. Be out of here.
Man, see exactly what you're doing. Don't get careless.
Don't get careless. This end of this round right here. Shoot. Be out of here. They go to the round.
Early in the round, Lewis went after Holyfield, pinned him on the ropes, didn't hit him with anything big, but punished him with those shots on the arms and the back. But it's been the jab that has dominated the first two rounds. You just heard Holyfield say to his corner, this is the round he goes out. So either he doesn't have it tonight or he's been saving it for right now, and he comes out in a very aggressive posture.
Well, if he opens up to try to fulfill the round three prophecy, does Lewis get a chance with the right hand? Lewis, 21 of 54 with the jab in the first two rounds. Holyfield has only thrown 24 punches in rounds 1 and 2. You know what Holyfield said about round three. Holyfield attacking to the body, his most aggressive combination so far. Over the top with the right hand. Did he get into Lewis's head? Did he make Lewis fear round three?
You know, the good thing that Evander Holyfield chose those gloves, because he's planning on putting his hands on his head to block the shots. And the gloves he's using has a bigger pad right by the blocking on the wrist there. So he was clever in picking those gloves.
Leaving Lewis with what are called the puncher's gloves.
It's like a pillow.
Holyfield landed a left hook inside and lands a right hand, and Lewis is stunned. Evander attacking. prophecy. Lewis seemingly trying to collect himself as he stands in the corner and waits. Holyfield misses with the haymaker.
At some point, you want to make sure you're conservative now. Evander Holyfield has got 12 rounds to go. Throwing the big shots like that.
Lewis lands the uppercut for the first time in the fight and lands again as Holyfield tries to come inside. 1 minute to go in the prophecy.
It seems that he's real effective when he attacks Lennox Lewis. I don't know why he stops. Lewis had better pick his hands up, keep his hands up. That's about all he can do.
I think he's trying to set him up for something, George. I don't know what it is. The right hand right there.
Right cross landed flush for Holyfield. Lewis seemingly stunned again, tries to come back with an uppercut. Now Lewis lands his right cross.
Boy, he made a choice with those gloves. Right on the wrist, they have power to block shots.
The fight is on.
10 seconds to go in the prophecy. And so much for the round 3 knockout.
And Holyfield goes very slowly back to his corner.
Put water on my head.
Put water on his head.
This is cold.
Now you know you can get it. You know you can get it. All you got to do is do it. Stop throwing hooks. Feint him with the hook and hit him with the right hand first.
All right. Look at pushing, right? Okay.
Sir, what you hit?
Lennox, go back to your speed. Don't worry about nothing.
Get to your jab. Listen very carefully. Your jab is the key. Get back to your jab again. You will see the opening. If you keep jabbing enough, you will see the opening.
Here we see Holyfield making his effort to fulfill a prophecy, the left hand. He really never got it going. Later in the round, that right hand landed flush on the nose. Didn't bother Lewis. And Holyfield seems a little discouraged sitting in the corner. Now he has a long fight in front of him, perhaps.
Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 3?
Jim, 29-28, 2 rounds to 1, Lennox Lewis. Certainly he won the first 2 rounds because Evander didn't do much. But Evander won that 3rd round a lot bigger than Lennox won the first 2. So, very interesting fight. Lennox with the jab wins the first 2 rounds. Evander with the good hooks wins the 3rd.
But as Evander Holyfield throws those left hooks, note that he's not listening to his corner. Don Turner told him, feint with the hook, throw the right cross first. Holyfield keeps trying to come with his bread and butter, the left hook.
And that's the problem. Holyfield has never had the power to recuperate with the big guys. So after he spends his money, he has to wait a long time to get a second win. And Lennox Lewis is allowing him to get a second win.
Lewis fighting at a slow pace, but landing most of his punches. And when he throws the jab, he keeps Holyfield out at range.
And he can do this all night. Just jab and use your reach. Throw your right hand only if you see it. Good. Holyfield is having to reach for those right hands now. Lewis is taking advantage of his height advantage. What you want the shorter man to do is reach for everything.
Lewis lands the jab and fires the right cross. The more aggressively Lewis fights, the better he does, just as Emmanuel Stewart has told him all along would be the case. Right hand lands again for Lewis.
Now you'll notice Lewis is not putting his body into his right hand yet. Just kind of slinging them out there for measurements.
Good or bad, George?
I think it's really good because you don't want to throw nothing away. You want to make sure, hey, I'm making contact. When I do zero in, I'm going to go for the big one.
Look at how unstoppable Lewis is when he fires the jab with frequency.
He just doesn't believe in his jab, though.
Left hook lands for Holyfield. Backs Lewis into the corner again. Right hand lands inside for Holyfield. Lewis partially blocked to left.
Nothing happens when Lewis stands straight up. It's when he starts to bend as the fight go on, that's when the problems may start. That's when Holyfield can land 4 and 5 shots.
Lewis again missing just over the top with the right hand. Holyfield again blocking with his gloves.
Oh, boy. Chose the right gloves. One fighter is using one brand and another is using the other brand. One brand is for punching and the other brand is for blocking.
Holyfield blocking, Lewis punching. Lewis with a right hand and a left hook. Tough round to score.
Evander Holyfield did very little in that round except for a two-punch flurry.
Up too straight. Okay. You got to back this guy up. He don't like to be backed up. You got to back him up. Okay.
All right, you want to cool down?
Bring the shots from underneath. You're jabbing, you're driving him down, and now you're shooting over top of the head. I keep bing, and shoot the shot from up underneath. You haven't cut him in the body at all tonight. You're not one body puncher shot down here.
Off the rope.
Okay? Cut him to the body some, and then start bringing the left uppercut some.
Keep your feet up under there. Keep your feet up under.
Close your eyes and listen.
Take it to him a little bit more. Take it to him a little bit more.
We've had less spontaneous combustion than a sort of planned obsolescence so far.
Lewis threw 36 jabs in round 4, 17 of them landed. You see that he gets the round on the Letterman card and goes up 3 rounds to 1 there.
Holyfield started to step in with his jab a little bit. Now that'll help him out. Make the big man stoop down. Make the big man bend his waist.
Holyfield stepping in the jab to the body, George, but reaching to do so. And you heard Emmanuel Stewart say, come up with the uppercut. Lewis lands a right hand. Holyfield stunned against the ropes. Hard right hand by Lewis. Holyfield on the defensive. Right hand lands again. Thunder in round 5 for Lewis. To the body. Following Stewart's instructions.
Holyfield wants to catch him reaching with his right hand and land one at the same time.
Is he hurt or is he playing possum? Is he hurt or is he playing possum, George? He's hurt.
Yeah, he's had some body punching and they hurt.
And the left uppercut landed flush. Long time left in the round. Finishing time for Lewis. Mercanti came over to get a good look at Evander, as if to say, why aren't you throwing back?
Holyfield started to react a little when he saw the referee coming.
Good move.
And that's an old job when you're a good fighter like that. Make the other guy throw everything he has away and then jump him.
Home court advantage for Lewis for the moment as the crowd upstairs chants for their man.
Lewis is doing a good job of keeping his hands up so far. Holyfield is having to reach and jump for everything he gets.
And this is another round in which Holyfield is going to have a low punch output unless he gets busy right now. Lewis's size, his jab, all conspiring to limit Holyfield's punch output. Evander just not getting off.
Evander Holyfield has started to fight. All of the strategy and everything is going out of the window now.
He can't win a boxing match this way. Now he goes to the body.
Once Lewis starts to bend his waist, trouble starts. You got to stay up. And Evander Holyfield has done a good job of making him bend every now and then.
Blood along the bridge of the nose of Lewis as he busts Holyfield with a 4-punch combination. Good footwork for Lewis there. Holyfield reaching but not finding anything.
Right now, Evander Holyfield looks like an old fighter.
Look at the connect percentage for Lennox Lewis.
With his long arms, Lewis hit Holyfield behind the head and may have disoriented him. And later in the round, holding him, punishing him.
It's open already.
This was the way Holyfield was supposed to look against Lewis, with Lewis backed on the ropes and Holyfield raking him.
Keep backing him up. This man is so slow. When you look at this tape, you're going to grow your mind. Come on, get up there, because he's slow.
You heard Evander Holyfield say, sorry. Emmanuel Stewart say, right now this man looks slow. You wouldn't believe it on the tape. But it's only 5 rounds, and nobody has ever dealt with a crisis better than Evander Holyfield.
Lennox Lewis had a fight plan to come in aggressively behind his jab, to find the right hand occasionally, and to keep Evander Holyfield out away from him at range. So far, he's following it almost to the tee, but Holyfield lands a big left hook as Lewis carelessly drops his right hand.
Getting a little arrogant, not a good idea against this great warrior.
You got to give Holyfield respect every moment that bell has not rung. You got to give him respect.
You can't make a mistake like that. Lewis lackadaisical for a moment and paid big time.
And I think it's a good little cat and mouse game Holyfield is playing.
You think he's playing possum, George?
I think he's played a lot of possum tonight.
Well, he may find himself playing himself possum out of the championship. He doesn't wake up soon.
It's hard to see how he's going to win any rounds this way.
While Lewis drops his hand and bends over, it's a mystery to me. He has a little swelling and a little blood on his face.
Lewis with blood on the bridge of his nose. Holyfield grinning a little bit as he stalks, tries to get inside again.
Holyfield might find that any round you get a knockout is just as good as prophecy as anything.
Maybe if it's a multiple of 3, like 6.
Yep. Or 9, huh? That's not a multiple, yeah.
That'll do. Yeah, you got it. Uppercut for Lewis. Thunder on Holyfield's chin.
You follow a boxer and take his crown. You follow a puncher and you get knocked down.
When he was asked what would happen if he didn't win in 3 rounds, Holyfield said there's no plan B. And right now there doesn't appear to be one.
He's just naturally fighting, and I mean he's doing a good job of fighting now.
Lewis holding his left hand below his waist, George, inviting a right hand lead from Holyfield.
He's a little perplexed, so to speak. I don't know why he drops his hand.
Turner asked Holyfield to fire right-hand leads, asked him to feint with the left hook and come back with the right cross. Evander hasn't done that. This is no Mike Tyson that Evander can push around the ring. He gets pushed backward when they come together.
You don't follow a puncher around. You just don't do that.
Arrogance of Lewis as he walks around the ring with his hands below his waist.
And Evander Holyfield looks dispirited.
Lennox, when he got old, he got old on you that quick, Lennox. Talk to him. Keep your hands up. And keep your hands up.
Get back to your jam. Get the demand is tired. If you ever sat down and open up, this fight is over with. You're too tender. You're hitting the man, but you're playing too much. If you sat down and say, I'm going to sit down and dig with all this power shots in here, it's going to be over.
About his cupping up at his chest. Look into your rhythm. We don't have any target at all. Look at his cup. It's red right now.
If you get into your rhythm, control combinations, what you're looking for will just flow. It'll come.
Here you see where a little arrogance creeps into Lewis's style, inviting a combination that landed but didn't land with full force.
Lennox Lewis only threw 22 jabs in that round. Emmanuel Stewart, between rounds, pleading with his fighter to throw more jabs. Be less tentative.
Holyfield marked up. You think, George, that Lewis is getting the best advice now, in which he was told to go out there and really dig now, and he thinks he can get a knockout? Where Emmanuel Stewart...
They both go down in the corner. Arthur Mercanti is going to rule it a slip. Harold Letterman, how do you have it halfway through the fight?
Okay, Jim, 5 rounds to 1, 59-55, Lennox Lewis. I mean, judges really see the clean punches and the effective aggressiveness. You can't miss shots like that, Jim. And the only aggressive round
Holyfield is hurt, and Lewis better not play with him.
Holyfield waiting against the ropes as Lewis tries to load a right hand. You can almost hear Stewart say, throw the doggone thing. Don't wait.
Well, he saw that he was playing possum and he refused to throw it.
And he was not playing possum. He was actually hurt. But Lewis has seen a few tricks tonight, and so he's going to be conservative.
Maybe he says to himself, hey, I'm winning the boxing match with ease. Why gamble?
And that's nothing wrong with that. You win, you win.
The judges are from South Africa, England, and the USA. Left hand blocked.
That Evander Holyfield's got a left hook to the body that's really painful. Lewis evidently has one too.
Yeah, because Lewis just folded Holyfield over with a left hook to the body.
I mean it. Tonight Holyfield is going to have to fight, and it won't be anything but a fight.
Big right hand lands for Lewis. Holyfield again inactive, not throwing many punches. Uppercut, uppercut. Right hand. Holyfield stunned in the middle of the ring. Lewis misses. Goes to the body. If you want to finish,
don't follow him, Holyfield. Don't follow him.
If you want to finish, Lennox, go to the body.
You don't want to follow a puncher when he's hurting you. Now he should back up and try to catch him coming in with something.
There goes the chant in the upper deck again. Left hook partially blocked. Uppercut again. Now Lewis traps himself in the corner.
And he leans on the back of Holyfield. That really takes a lot out of you when a big man lean on your back like that.
Left hook inside for Holyfield after Lewis's uppercut was partially blocked.
Holyfield has abandoned everything now. He's just throwing big hooks. And let me tell you, when Lewis starts to bend his weight just a little bit, he's going to get caught with one.
Great.
Big round for Lennox Lewis.
You see the way you finish that round? That's the way you got to start it and finish it the same way. These guys don't want to fight.
To make him happy, that's all.
Rebound, Lennox.
Swallow this too, okay?
Lennox, we the undisputed champion. Stay with the angle.
I told you you were going to play with this man, didn't I? You'd have a lot of fun. Load up a little bit more power on the shots now. Okay, but you graduate and get back to your jab. The main thing is your jab and keep your hands up.
In round 7, by CompuBox numbers, Holyfield was 8 of 21. Lennox Lewis, 33 of 59, including 22 of 32 power shots. Don Turner is getting more desperate as he asks his fighter to fight.
Lewis is just stepping back a little bit and just dropping right hands. He's got his defense set now, and he doesn't have to back up at all anymore.
George Holyfield hasn't gotten inside except on a very few occasions.
Yeah, because Holyfield is more effective when his opponent is coming to him. Lewis is stepping back just a little bit to make Holyfield reach out at everything he gets.
You remember, Jim, when we did the punch stat, I reminded everyone that Holyfield basically likes to be a counterpuncher. And he's not getting a chance to do the counterpunching here.
Lewis is acting like a matador. He stands there, jab, 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 and then slides left and right.
Little combination for Lewis. Not a lot of velocity behind the punches, but he stays active. Holyfield gets in a couple little whacks to the body. But generally speaking, punch combinations few and far between for Evander.
Evander's getting into a jabbing contest, and that's not what he wants right now. This guy has a good jab, and his trainers told him to use it. You need to stay close and just touch him every now and then. Just get a little closer and stay closer. You see, you don't have to hit him hard. Just stay close. Make him unravel.
Put your hand. Great. Pull. Time. Evander.
Right cross, left hook, both landed for Lewis. Holyfield walking in, but not punching.
Now that jab of Lewis has really been a good Sugar Ray Robinson left jab now. He just doesn't seem to believe in it enough.
Holyfield manages to force an uppercut through Lewis's guard and tries to attack, but Lewis fending him off, staying at range, using his jab, occasionally pounding Evander with the right hand, generally having his way. You could make a case, I know it isn't there on Letterman's card, but you could make a case that the Englishman has won every round so far.
You'll pull him into it. Watch.
Right hand stops Evander in his tracks again.
Come on. You're pulling him, his head into you. Let's go.
Evander Holyfield may be a warrior, but he's a silent warrior right now.
You have to wonder whether that prophecy has just taken all the heart out of him, or whether it was just wishful thinking on his part.
You got to start pumping your hand.
Coming in, he's doing nothing.
And start taking left up.
You won that round.
Slipped and came in. That was very, very effective. Let's get back to what we worked on.
Right back to basics.
This is the most effective jab we have seen Lennox Lewis for a long time. That long jab there. It's not a punishing jab, but Holyfield can't get away from it, can't launch anything. By keeping it busy, Holyfield is unable to mount an attack.
And you see the numbers from CompuBox on jabs through round 8. It's been a wipeout. Lewis using his jab so far to dominate the action against Holyfield. In round 8, Lewis threw 36 jabs and landed half of them. Holyfield 6 of 12. Lewis bouncing a little bit now as round 9 begins.
Now that's what Holyfield wants. Get Lewis to bounce and get off the pitcher's mound, so to speak. Then you can get something going. But as long as you got him standing there, it's like batting practice. Make him bounce, you bounce, make him miss, and then counter.
There's a little bit of urgency now in Holyfield's step. You can sense that he knows he has to get going.
Evander Holyfield has been past 8 rounds 10 times in his career. Lewis only 4, and Lewis has never had a knockout past the 8th. But why would he need it? Right now, with 4 rounds to go, on Harold Letterman's card at least, Lewis is ahead by 6 points. So the fighter who needs a knockout as we come down the stretch here is the warrior in the purple trunks.
Lewis, every now and then, whenever he drops his hand or bend his waist, he get in trouble. But as long as he's straight up, it's his night.
Lewis, well aware that he's not skilled as an infighter, told us that when Holyfield came inside, he would tie him up or push him away. And you see him doing exactly that here.
Now, I don't know about who's the better infighter tonight, but I think Lewis is looking like the better one when you think about what's going in.
Well, when he uses the uppercut, George, he triples his effectiveness as an infighter. Stewart got him to start using it after the 4th round, and it's made a difference.
Lewis is boxing now.
There is certainly not a lot of drama here. It's lived down to its worst possible scenario.
Lewis, all he has to do is keep his right hand up and just circle Holyfield to his right. Go to his right and make him throw his left hook.
Lewis landed a short right hand with a thud. Thought for a minute he might have Holyfield hurt. Evander comes pressing forward and firing the left.
It's going to be a fight. Lewis is not going to be given to him, nor will it be given to Holyfield.
Time running out on Holyfield. 3 rounds to go after this.
Lewis is taking some of the power out of his punches, and he's just thumping. That's even better, because if Holyfield charges him a little bit, he can even put a little power to it.
Evander reaching with a right hand. Lewis ties him up again. Crowd in the expensive seats at floor level, largely silent as they are mystified by Lewis's dominance of their man.
Has Lewis got a cut?
Round like that.
Got 3 more rounds, bro.
Around like that. As long as you're doing something, he's reacting to you.
You gotta make him fight you. You gotta make him fight you. Get in close and dog him, man.
Come on, right up here. Move your gloves. Move your gloves.
Do it again after do it.
Yeah, I bet. Just keep working the jab. Keep your hands up. Keep working your jab. Jabbing from up on top. You understand?
Let it go.
Jabbing from up on top.
There it is.
Okay? Jabbing from on top. Don't jab from jabbing low. Your man cannot avoid you.
Great job to do it. No problem.
As long as you
Move your head.
that round, you can
All
take
he
the round.
want to do is survive. Don't let him survive.
Now, please. Okay, step up.
Keep your hands up
Keep
the angles, man.
pumping your jabs from the top. Jabbing from... Come on, let's go.
Evander Holyfield has had some surprises and miracles in his career. He needs one for these last 3 rounds.
Harold, how do you have it through 9?
Jim, 7 rounds to 2, 88-83, Lennox Lewis. I like Evander Holyfield. He gets aggressive, but I've only seen aggressiveness in 2 rounds, and that's the 3rd of the night. I thought he pulled out the knife by getting aggressive, just like he's doing now.
Here comes the aggressiveness. Here comes the Holyfield rally. Here comes the indomitable warrior we've seen so many times.
Actually, Lewis was caught complaining, and then he got himself in trouble.
Great. Step back.
He's complaining about headbutts.
Let me tell you, when you're fighting Holyfield, he brings out everything. Headbutt, kick, slinging. He's been doing everything tonight, picking up guys.
Well, Lewis isn't the first fighter to complain that Holyfield butts. Mike Tyson spent a lot of time talking to referees in Nevada about that.
Evander knows how to be a rough fighter, and it's a rough game.
Yeah, but Joe Lewis will never revert to all of that.
Hard right hand for Holyfield. Biggest punch in a while. Lewis landed the jab and left it out there while Holyfield stepped in and landed the right.
Great.
You know, Evander is picking up some steam here. And every time he steps back, when he catches that right hand, you got to keep it on him, Evander.
First minute and a half of the 10th round, enough to give the Holyfield contingent hope. Now the action slows again.
He's got to keep it on. He just can't wait back there. Every time he hurts Lennox, he backs up, takes a deep breath.
Right cross landed for Lewis.
Great.
Holyfield got a little bit of it himself.
Steps inside and grabs. Holyfield blowing air through his mouthpiece. Lewis tries to go back to using his jab.
You know what? That's what you want the smaller, the shorter arm a fighter to do, is keep following you, reaching. Reach out for everything you get and make him miss by keeping your hands up.
Uppercut landed again for Lewis.
Holyfield should be closer. You just got to stay close. Anything good is going to happen because Holyfield is close.
Yeah, when they're out at range like this, Evander just can't deal with him. For that reason, jab, jab, jab.
Lewis goes to the body 2 or 3 times and he comes back up to the head. Floyd Patterson would love that.
This guy, man, you got to stay close and you got to work
That's a good one.
hard, man.
You took that round like the last one. That's all you got to do.
feeling? Good. Trying to get around just like we want you to.
Push the man back, Liz. You start pushing him back, you'll do a lot better. Push him back, okay? Push him back. He won there. Don't put too much water because we got him too wet here. Okay. Start pushing him back.
Here's where Holyfield come in and butted Lewis in the head. Lewis is complaining and caging him. Later in the round,
Nice shot, gentlemen.
the best punch Holyfield has thrown perhaps in this fight.
Nice shot, gentlemen. Nice shot.
And they both landed right hands in that sequence. Fascinatingly, round 10 was Holyfield's best in CompuBox numbers. 21 out of 55 punches. But Lewis was 31 of 48, including 24 of 37 jabs. So he continues to pound the jab with accuracy.
Lewis does not need to get into the counter-punching game. You want to keep Holyfield waiting. You want to keep leading. Don't be a counter-puncher. Start the fight. Land the first punch and the last punch.
You know, going into this fight, conventional wisdom was that Holyfield had the skill, Lewis had the strength, but Lewis has simply outskilled him tonight.
You know what? All of the talk about Evander may have had too many wars. It hasn't seemed like it tonight.
You don't think Evander's had too many wars?
No, Evander's very strong. He's not winning the fight in a fantastic way, but let me tell you, his legs aren't shaking. He hasn't been knocked down clearly. All of the effects of an old fighter, they just have not happened to him tonight.
Well, that's good, but he's not winning the fight, George.
It's because of that left jab. If someone would just come in and take away that jab.
Yeah, well, it's like Larry says. It's Lewis's tactical skill that's winning the fight for him.
This boy was an Olympic heavyweight champion one time.
And he lands a big right hand as Holyfield comes inside. You see the natural counter-punching tendency of Lewis. When Holyfield comes toward him, he lands.
They both would prefer to be counter-punchers, but Lewis has done more leading with his jab tonight.
I think Lewis have even surprised himself at how good he's boxed tonight. Left jab, step into the left, step into the right.
Never better. Never better. The question was, would Lennox Lewis show up for a big fight? And he did.
Good right hand by Evander Holyfield.
Big land. But Lewis seems unruffled by it.
All he does is stick his left hand out there and stops everything. It doesn't even have to be hard. When Lewis just sticks it out there, it stops. All of the action.
Right now, no British fighter in this century has been closer to winning an undisputed heavyweight champion. But there is still one round to go against a great fighter who has not been great tonight.
3 minutes to go to a unified heavyweight championship. Lennox Lewis has never lost a decision.
That round because you're making a miss. What you ain't doing is shake your hand in. You let him miss, come back with something. All you doing is doing this, doing this. You got to be a little more aggressive on it. You let the goddamn man miss, but I would give him the round because you ain't doing nothing but just been satisfied to do this shit.
Last round, touch gloves, champ.
He's giving the ring up to you, so you got to be
Got to outwork him.
Simple, short, and sweet.
And firm, knew you keep the heads up, you can't do shit.
Sweet.
But you let him miss. Close the show now. You saved it all, man.
Simple. You walk by faith, not by sight. Let's go there, brother. Mouthpiece.
Now let's close the show.
Who will close the show?
Who wants it? Let's go. Who wants it? Let's go.
Unless our eyes have fooled us badly,
Evander Holyfield needs a knockout desperately right now to hold on to his shares of the heavyweight championship of the world. Lewis thudding with the right hand over and over.
Lewis trying to close the show in style rather than sit on a lead.
And you heard the urgency of Emmanuel Stewart between rounds.
I believe that Holyfield has one more knockdown in his right there stuck in those arms. He's still got one.
You're rooting for the old guy, George, understandably.
He hasn't been close to knocking Lewis down, George.
He's got one more punch, I'm telling you.
Let's go. We'll hold the last round.
He's landed punches. He hasn't been close to knocking him down.
If only Lewis would just bend his waist.
Lewis lands the right hand again as Holyfield's leans in.
You want him to bend his waist into a Holyfield punch? Is that what you want, George?
You trying to keep the title in the colonies, George? They're singing upstairs. They're cheering downstairs. The applause is building.
Let's keep it clean on this one.
Keep it clean. Isn't that nice? The referee said the magic word. Keep it clean.
Riccante Jr. doing a brilliant job.
It's been a good
all the
fight
way
out
through.
there. Holyfield now seems to be just waiting for the bell to ring. Come on, Holyfield, do something.
He hasn't got it, George. The old warrior has no rally left. Lewis just staring him down.
I don't think he should taunt the great guy, though.
Precious seconds tick away as Lewis again ties Holyfield up inside. It's been an easy boxing exhibition for the bigger man.
He's never had the endurance in the 12th rounds with the big guys. But let me tell you, he's had the heart.
This fight may be the biggest anticlimax dramatically since the impeachment. But if a Brit wins, it will be the biggest news in the British Isles for many a decade.
Not since Bob Fitzsimmons in 1897 has a citizen of Great Britain held an undisputed heavyweight title. We may be minutes away from that watershed right now. What's your final scorecard?
117, 111, 9 rounds to 3. Lennox Lewis. He pulled out 11 and 12 impressively. Holyfield only won 9, 10 and 3. No question, no doubt about it. Lennox Lewis wins the fight. The better jab, the cleaner punching, the harder right hands.
Let's see if the judges from South Africa, Great Britain, and New Jersey agree. They're celebrating in Lewis's corner as Holyfield walks and waits. Final punch stat numbers are overwhelmingly one-sided. Lewis landing 218 more blows, more than doubling Holyfield's landed punch number, and nearly doubling his output. And Lewis landing at an astonishing 57%, including 51% of his jabs. If the judges see fit to ignore this kind of numerical dominance, you would wonder how. We're ready for the official decision. Let's go to Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing here at Madison Square Garden, we go to the scorecards at this time. Judge at ringside, Eugenia Williams, scores about 115 to 113 in favor of Evander Holyfield. Judge at ringside, Stanley Christodoulou, scores about 116 to 113 in favor of Lennox Lewis. Judge at ringside, Larry O'Connell, scores about 115 to 115, even a draw. The decision is even a draw. Both champions retain their belts.
That's a travesty. That is, ladies and gentlemen, a travesty, an outrage, a highway robbery. Lennox Lewis has just been robbed of the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. He won it, and he didn't get it.
You know, that is a shame.
It's a Briggs job. Holyfield getting the benefit of the doubt from scorers who apparently didn't appreciate what they saw. And Larry O'Connell of Great Britain is the man with the even scorecard. Gene Williams from New Jersey scored it for Holyfield. Only Stanley Christodoulou of South Africa saw the fight.
All 12 rounds of action as they unfolded that night in Madison Square Garden. Now we bring you back to the studio where we're joined by the two fighters, both of whom still hold the championship belts with which they entered the ring that evening. WBA and IBF titleist Evander Holyfield and WBC titleist Lennox Lewis. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for being with us. Evander, we know that you have in your possession a videotape of the fight. Have you looked at it?
Yes, I have.
And your take? What did you see?
Well, I didn't fight the best fight I could have fought, but I did the best I could that night.
Lennox, you went into this fight accepting the reality that it would define you. How do you think coming out of the fight it did define you?
I was a very unlucky fella. You know, I felt I did enough to win the fight, and I think this whole situation is a travesty to boxing.
Evander, you went into the fight with a reputation that you had earned over many years for being a great warrior. Do you feel that somehow the controversy surrounding the decision and the reaction to the public out there in the world has somehow sullied your reputation?
No, I don't. I think it's how you handle situations. In a fight, both fighters do the best that they can, and people are going to talk regardless, and you just have to just hope for another chance to do it.
Evander, you did say Saturday night after the fight that you felt you had done enough to win it, having looked at it on videotape. Do you still feel that way?
Well, you know, my mind don't change. He did enough to me, and I did enough to him. We both did complete the job. Then it left up to the judges. Anytime things go in the judge's hand, then it's their opinion, no more our opinion. We both would say the same thing.
But Evander, just between two guys having a fight, don't you guys know, sense really what happened, whatever the judges say? What did you believe before the decision was rendered? Did you believe that you were going to win the fight, or did you believe that you were going to lose that fight?
Well, I came in the fight believing that I was going to knock him out.
No, I'm talking after the fight, before the judge's decision was known. How did you feel?
Well, I felt that it was in the judge's hand, and it didn't make no difference then. I have won some that way, I have lost some that way, so I don't get myself emotional hyped on when I have the opportunity to do what I have to in the ring. When I don't complete it, then it's in the hands of the judges.
Lennox, surely you felt during the fight that you were winning round after round. At least that's what your corner was telling you. Looking back now, do you wish that you had risked more in pursuit of a knockout?
Definitely. I didn't realize that I would have to brought my own judges. I didn't realize those judges needed glasses. I felt that I was well ahead on the fight. I was doing anything I wanted to. Going after him to knock him out, I'd just rather box him out. I'm a boxer puncher. If an opportunity presented itself, I would have taken it.
But did it enter your mind? Did you think to yourself in the late rounds, maybe I ought to try harder to knock him out and take this out of the judges' hands?
No, I thought I was winning the fight comfortably.
Evander, coming into this fight, You said, be careful of what you ask for, you may get it about him. You called him a lumberjack with a lot of power and no style.
I didn't call him a lumberjack.
All right, you were quoted in that way. You predicted a third-round knockout, which suggested that you thought you were going to have your way with him. Why were you so wrong about him?
Well, the fact of the matter, I wasn't wrong. I never took anything from it. I felt that I would be at my very best, regardless of what Lennox would be. Never said Lennox was no more than a champion. I didn't build him up and I didn't tear him down. I'm not the type of person to take anybody's character. The fact is, I went in there and it was Lennox that was able to hold me off. And I can't do nothing but say, well, you're the man, fought a good fight, and maybe next shot.
Do you regret the third-round prediction in any way? Do you think that it operated against you?
No, I don't think it operated against me. I think the third round kept me into the fight because the fact is that because I didn't knock him out, I didn't want to give up throughout the whole fight. I could have said, well, you know, this is over. But God showed himself strong and got me through that fight.
Well, gentlemen, let's take a moment now to look back at one specific round in the fight. We're going to roll for you the 5th round and see this entire round from a handheld camera. And it's interesting because in the eyes of most ringside observers, this was Lennox Lewis's best round, the round in which he came closest to getting Holyfield in enough trouble to perhaps knock him out. And yet, Judge Gene Williams of Atlantic City scored this round for Evander Holyfield. Lennox, what were you thinking about and trying to set up as you came into this portion of the fight?
Just to land a good shot. I realized that I was feeling good at that time and I was boxing all the way through. So this fight, I just seized an opportunity.
You seemed, Evander, a little bit downcast after the 3rd round because your prediction, you're telling the world that God had told you this would end and hadn't come true.
Well, you know, I wasn't feeling good going into the fight anyway. But because I knew I was going to knock him out in the 3rd round, I thought, well, I ain't but a short night. I went out there and everything I threw, Leonard was able to take it, and he came when he.
What do you mean you weren't feeling good?
Well, I'm catching cramps in my legs and in my side. So the whole thing about what motivated me to go through it, I said, shoot, it's a short night.
All right. How early in the fight were you bothered by cramps in your legs and in your side?
First round. First round, when I came back to the corner, I was telling my legs cramping.
As we watch this round, are you trying to set a trap for him, Evander, or are you against the ropes because he's put you there on the defensive?
Well, the fact is that I was using everything to my advantage. Lennox said, you know, I wasn't going to go in there, and that's my only chance of hitting him with a left hook, getting him to come close. But, you know, he fought a smart fight.
Lennox, were you trying to land a big right hand throughout this round?
Yeah, I was taking my time, just seizing the opportunities. I realized at one point it looked like he was hurt, but to me he was just trying to bring me in so he could try a little left hook right hand combination, but I was fully aware of that.
So you didn't think that he was hurt?
No, definitely not. I'm the closest one in there, so I should know.
So does that mean that at no point in the fight you had him seriously hurt?
At a couple points, but, you know, like I said, Evander's he shows true grit, and he's got a great big heart, so it's not going to be easy to knock him out, because even when he's hurt, you know, he's still persevering, and that's when he's the most dangerous.
Evander, as you're watching this round, do you see yourself being competitive in it?
Well, yeah, I'm competitive. The only thing I'm always thinking, the one thing is I'm trying to make things that work for him work against him. Lennox fought a lot smarter than I thought he would. I thought if he catch me with a good shot, then it would allow him to get a lot closer. Some of the shot didn't affect me as much as I led on to believe he tried to draw him in. He fought a smart fight, and I had to take my hat off to a guy that's fight smart.
You thought that if he committed to his big shots, he'd be off balance. But he maintained his balance better than you thought he would through the fight, didn't he?
Well, not so much of that. He didn't punch through the target. He punched at the target, but he never did commit himself to hit me with the big shots that I thought maybe he would.
Well, if he didn't do that, why couldn't you make an adjustment?
Well, because of my leg, with his stance, he jabbed, and I would have to take 2 steps to 1 step because of his long arms, and I wasn't able to get by the first jab because my leg was sticking.
So that you felt a physical superiority in your size against him, that you could just easily control the fight?
Well, I've always maintained that. You know, I'm a true heavyweight. I've always been a heavyweight. I've boxed in 2 Olympics as a heavyweight. So, you know, when I step into a fight, I'm using every advantage possible.
One of the New York writers suggested this morning that, on the basis of honor, Evander Holyfield ought to acknowledge openly that he lost this fight to you. Would it mean anything to you if Evander were to say something like that?
I doubt Evander will say something like that.
Evander, are you setting up a rematch by refusing to say that you were outcompeted in this fight?
Well, yeah, that's just a matter of opinion. Lennox and I both had the same opportunity to take each other out. We didn't. Then it goes into the judge hand. You know, people make this things about the judge. Neither one of us chose to judge. We are competitors, and it's our job to do the best that we can. And, you know, once it falls in the judge's hands, it falls in the judge's hands.
You kept your title. Now you say you're in favor of having a rematch. Is that the first option for you, the most important thing?
Well, you know, I have a goal. My goal was to be the undisputed champion. And even as this thing didn't pan out the way that I want, it still didn't take my opportunity of being undisputed champion. It didn't take his away either.
Lennox, the public now accepts you as the heavyweight champion of the world. He may have 2 belts, you may not have 1. Why do you need a rematch?
Just to, you know, I can box again to put my final stamp of approval on it. You know, show the world that who's the true heavyweight, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And if they want to see it again, I can show it to them again. But this time, I'll bring my own judges.
Do you need this rematch to take place because of those title belts?
It's just so there's no question, and so that I get my belts, which Evander Holyfield's holding for me right now.
All right, you took 1/3 of the money, and Evander 2/3 this time around. How would the financial distribution have to be set up this time for the rematch to be acceptable to you?
Well, I don't get involved in the money aspect of it too much, but I'm definitely not taking less money.
Would you take less than half? Would you take short money again, or do you have to have parity with Evander?
Well, I don't really want to discuss it too much, but like I said, I don't want to get the short end of the stick.
Evander, you've still got 2/3 of the belts. Does that mean you still deserve 2/3 of the money?
Well, all that means we're seeing the fact of the matter, the match need to be made, and I think when we get into money, you trying to divide the fight before the fight even starts. Let's see how much money in and how it can benefit Lennox and I. You know, this is a win-win situation for both of us as we look at it in a good business sense. We got to fight regardless. We both want to be undisputed champions.
Isn't it fair to say, Evander, that both because you want to still unify the titles and both because a lot of people have been very unhappy with the decision and, like it or not, you are involved in that you really need this rematch?
Well, no, I don't.
Not just want it.
I really don't need a rematch. The fact of the matter is that I love what I do. Boxing is what I love. I do. You know, I'm a God champion, and the fact is that you go out to the office, you have a bad day. If you have a bad day, as long as you get an opportunity, you shouldn't be upset.
All right, you're admitting you have a bad day. Is there a question you would like to ask Evander?
Boy, no. Not really, no.
Evander, anything you need to know from Lennox?
Well, you know, Lennox showed what he showed. I'm happy about what he showed. My own thing, I'm not sad for the performance he had. Every man and got to do their best each and every time they go out there, and he had a good show.
Evander, you're telling us you had cramps. You're going to be closer to 37 years old when a rematch happens. Why shouldn't we think that all this is connected to the fact that you've had a lot of very hard fights, that you're getting on in age, and that who can guarantee that you're going to be able to be in better physical condition next time?
Well, no one can guarantee, but, you know, one can show up and see. You know, I done been in this situation a lot of time. Y'all should know that even with Reddy Bow. I done been in this situation. I'm a man that go through it. I'm a man that people see that is human. He have some down spots and have some great days too. But it's the attitude that you have when you do have them. I feel that I'm always just looking for another opportunity to show what God has given me.
Lennox, if this wasn't a great night for Evander, is it because he's old and shop-worn, or is it because there's a style challenge here for him in facing a fighter of your size and dimensions that's simply difficult for him to deal with?
I think it's all the above. You know, I don't think he had a set plan. Like I said from the beginning, Evander Holyfield's never seen nothing like Lennox Lewis, and you know, next time we fight, he's never gonna see nothing again. I'm not saying I'm gonna blind him or nothing like that. I'm just gonna show him that I'm the much superior boxer.
Well, gentlemen, after what happened Saturday night, I think we have to respect and admire both of you a great deal for being stand-up guys and coming in here and sitting together today. Can't thank you enough for your time. Now let's turn our attention to the scoring controversy. And joining us now from South Africa is the one judge who scored the fight for Lennox Lewis, Stanley Christodoulou. Mr. Christodoulou, thank you very much for being with us. I know that you are a veteran with more than 100 championship fights as a referee and as a judge. Was this a difficult fight to score, subject to some interpretation that could account for another judge's scorecard varying wildly from yours?
Well, I must be frank with you. I didn't think it was that difficult, you know, because from the outset, Mr. Lewis dominated the fight. And through the first 7 rounds, I could only give the 1 round, the 3rd round, to Mr. Holyfield. So for me, you know, it wasn't that difficult.
We now have a report that the judge who scored the fight a draw, Larry O'Connell, has gone home to England and has in effect recanted his scorecard, saying he made a mistake, he feels bad for himself, and he feels sorry for Lennox Lewis. Does this suggest, Mr. Christodoulou, that the system which chooses one judge from each of the 2 fighters' home countries raises more problems than it solves?
I think the time has come they should reevaluate the system and not put pressure on the American official or the British official. Point 3 neutrals and open the doors to people like myself. Come to the United States, judge me on my track record.
Mr. Christodoulou, one final question. Right. Have you ever been approached by someone who wanted to buy or influence your scorecard prior to the fight in a major bout like this?
Not in the United States, no. No, never in the United States. Yes, I was approached once in South Korea. It's on record with the WBA. I was the scoring referee, and I refused the attempted bribe. The WBA have got full record of it. I disclosed it, and I scored the right way. Only once, many years, I've done 9 fights in South Korea. That was the first one, and the last that they ever tried that again with me. But United States, never, sir. Never, ever. I've never been approached from anybody. I will never, you know, I'll disclose immediately if anybody would try, even attempt to do that with me.
WBA Judge Stanley Christodoulou of South Africa, thank you very much for being with us once again. Let's turn now to our own ringside scorer, New York State Athletic Commission Judge Harold Letterman. Harold, one striking thing on all 3 scorecards, none of the 3 judges could find a round between rounds 8 and 11 to give to Lewis. Is there a tendency among scorers, when one fighter has dominated the early rounds of the fight, to try to find later rounds to give to the other fighter?
Oh, there's no question, Jim. I mean, every judge will deny it. You know, truth of the matter is you're supposed to score each round individually, forgetting how you had the previous rounds, but it just doesn't work that way. It's human nature. If you got a guy way out in front, you're going to try to compensate, you know, and give a round to the guy that's way behind, just to even it up somewhat. No doubt.
Harold, do some judges find themselves subject to pressures or influences from the establishment, the organizations that appoint them, the promoter, managers, to shade their scoring?
Larry, the sanctioning bodies never run into that experience yet, but certainly, you know, there's no such thing as a gracious loser. Each promoter wants to win. It's big dollars. Each manager wants to win. So sure, you know, there's always that implication that, you know, vote for my guy and I'll take you along for the next fight. You know, you hear it all the time.
All right, let's have a visit now with the one judge who scored the fight for Evander Holyfield, Jean Williams, who represented the International Boxing Federation. She's from Atlantic City, New Jersey. And as you look at her scorecard, you will note she was the one judge who gave the 5th round to Holyfield when many ringside observers felt that that was Lewis's best and most overpowering round. She gave all 4 rounds, 8 through 11, to Holyfield despite punch stat statistics that indicated Lewis was still well in control of the bout. Ms. Williams, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. The sports world has greeted the verdict of a draw with near unanimous derision, disbelief, disgust. The British judge who scored the fight even has now gone back to his home country and says that he was wrong. Have you had any second thoughts about your scorecard?
Not at all.
So you're clear in your mind that Evander Holyfield was the victor in this fight?
That's how I scored it.
The 5th round is the round that is pointed to by critics because most people saw that round as Lennox Lewis's strongest round, and yet you scored it for Evander Holyfield. What do you remember of the round and why you scored it that way?
As you can see, Lennox Lewis' back was to me, so I scored what blows that I could actually see to the best of my ability.
Well, we've looked at the round, Miss Williams, and most of the round does not occur with Lennox Lewis's back to you. It occurs in different sides of the ring. Is that unusual, and are you just supposed to assume that if a fighter's back to you that he hasn't landed any punches?
No, I'm not supposed to assume, but I'm supposed to score what I saw. And as they moved, when I got a clear view, I scored the blows that I actually saw.
Ms. Williams, just as fighters have individual styles, so too do judges. When a fighter is moving forward most or all of the time, does that strongly influence your perception of who's winning?
Providing that he's aggressive and effective with it.
That means throwing punches. Are you at all connecting with punches? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, you probably know about the punch stat statistics that we're able to use during the course of the fight. Does it bother you at all that the number disparity on those statistics is vast between Lewis and Holyfield, with Lewis throwing many more punches and landing nearly 3 times as many?
I don't have the advantage of the stat. I can only go by what I actually see.
What about this? A lot of calumny has been brought to boxing by the result of this fight. It's really taken a big body blow after a high-profile event, and you're the focus of it. How do you feel is your responsibility toward bringing this down on a game that you provide so much of your work for?
I felt I did my responsibility the night of the fight, scoring what I actually saw.
So that you don't...
And writing the results.
So you don't have any not just second thoughts, but any feelings that this is all being aimed at you in a way?
It's probably aimed at me, but I can't avoid how people feel as long as I go and do what I'm paid to do, and what I love doing is scoring boxing, and that's exactly what I did.
Ms. Williams, we've looked at your dossier of experience. This was by far the biggest fight you've ever been assigned to. There was nothing in the previous list that was anywhere close. Given what you're going through right now, would you want to be assigned to another undisputed heavyweight championship fight as a judge?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate having the chance to talk with you.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the third of the 3 judges, Larry O'Connell of the WBC. He's the man who saw the fight even and has now gone home to Great Britain. Here's a snippet of an interview that O'Connell conducted with the British television network, ITN.
I'm sad that I was the person who gave the draw. I feel sad for the other person who gave it to Holyfield. She's taken more stick than I am. I presume. I don't know. The fact that I'm British makes it even worse for me. I'm not frightened. I'm not running away from anything. I just feel sorry for, especially for Lennox. If I made a mistake, and it's an honest mistake, that's the best mistake you can make.
Once again, British Judge Larry O'Connell, who now, of course, must find a comfortable way to live in England after having helped deny that nation its first undisputed heavyweight champ in 102 years. Harold Letterman, in a separate quote for a British newspaper, O'Connell says, "Judging from public response, I would say I was wrong." Ever heard of a judge recanting his scorecard in a major fight like this?
No, Jim, and I'll tell you something else. Your first response, your first score is your best score. There's no doubt about it. He scored the fight a draw, and that's it. That was his best score. Now what he's trying to do is live with his neighbors. Unfortunately, the mistake he made was accepting the assignment because he was put into a position where Evander Holyfield could have won a very close fight, and he had to go back to England.
Harold, Gene Williams claims that Lennox Lewis's back obscured what was going on in the ring, at least in some of the 5th round. Is that a credible explanation?
Larry, let me tell you, in judging a fight, there's 2 things that can, take away from your view. Number 1, the referee could get in your way, and number 2, you could be looking at a fighter's back. In Lewis Holyfield, certainly Lennox Lewis didn't keep Evander Holyfield in one position, as I saw the 5th round. He moved him around a bit. So, I can't accept that. I mean, it's something that a judge has to learn to live with. We do it every day. In other words, you have to look at a guy's back once in a while, and you got to get some idea of what's going on.
Harold, the biggest fight Gene Williams ever scored to a final decision prior to this was probably Vuyani Bungu against Enrique Hupiter. Is it unconscionable that a governing body would appoint a judge of her inexperience to a fight like this?
Well, Jim, to be perfectly frank, sooner or later you got to step up. I mean, you know, there has to be a first somewhere. If Bob Lee thought that this was the time and the place, I can accept that. I can live with it. I've known Jean for a long time and really never had too much problem with her.
But Harold, it's still a big step up when you're going to one of many, many title fights into a showdown of this dimension that the whole world is watching.
Without doubt, Larry. You know, and, you know, hey, as it proved out, she disagreed with the rest of us.
Harold, as always, thanks very much. Well, you can't help but reflect on the disastrous timing of this controversy. The sport had been enjoying a crescendo of new excitement. From our vantage point, you could sense the growing perception that fans could care about this stuff again without expecting to get burned. Now this, and the inevitable conclusion of jaded fight followers that it was all just an elaborate charade designed to set up a rematch. Negotiations are in the early stages, and the chance exists we will see Holyfield Lewis 2 as early as August, perhaps in New York's Yankee Stadium. Larry, how did this happen?
Jim, when the judge who called it for Holyfield claimed that Holyfield landed more punches against the evidence of our eyes and the computers, you want to attribute it to incompetence or astigmatism. You can't rule out larceny, of course, but it has all the smell of an organizational fix, favoring the familiar fighter, the familiar promoter, the familiar sanctioning bodies that give out judging assignments. It's easier to go along with the program than to go against it. Frankly, I have no special desire to see a rematch when Holyfield will be closer to 37 and Lewis 34, although it does seem inevitable, and I'll be there. Frankly, I'd like to see them fight some of the good young heavyweights out there. Youth inspires hope for this glorious but hopeless game.
And one final observation. Going into March 13, no kangaroo court governing bodies or jewel-studded title belts were necessary to establish that Evander Holyfield was the heavyweight champion of the world. Just as certainly, no alphabet totem pole is necessary now to tell us the title changed hands and belongs to Lennox Lewis. So with an eye toward a better future, Larry and I would like to offer to the three boxing federations a gesture symbolizing the respect they deserve.
This is for the IBF, which wrong-headedly appointed an ill-equipped judge to a major fight.
And for the WBA, which named Henry Akinwande as the mandatory challenger if there had been a winner.
And for the WBC for long and unmeritorious service, disservice really, to the sport, going home to Don King, its benefactor.
Well, that puts a lid on Holyfield Lewis from here. Thanks very much for being with us. We'll look forward to seeing you again at ringside. This month, we'll bring you the most recent edition of Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Among the stories featured, baseball's economic structure, which directly affects the game's competitive balance. A look at one of basketball's most colorful personalities, Dick Vitale. An anatomy of the LSU basketball investigation. Plus, a look back at the 1968 UCLA-Houston Summit meeting, regarded by many as the game most responsible for popularizing college basketball. Real Sports, where nothing is out of bounds.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.